Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by GM Genuine Parts and AC Delco. Get the most out of your vehicle with GM Genuine Parts and AC Delco original equipment. The only parts designed, engineered, tested, and backed by General Motors. You can find your perfect fit for most makes and models and choose from 3 tiers of parts, including GM OE or gold and silver aftermarket parts. Visit gmparts.com for more information.
Welcome to Farm Your Daily, a field-forward podcast. I'm David Geiger, your host. I've been on Iowa TV and radio for the last decade, and I am excited to join you on this new podcast, Farm Your Daily. Today on the program, we'll take a look at the state of Iowa's agriculture with the head of the Department of Agriculture himself, Mike Naig, joins us today. Then we head over to Western Iowa, where Mike Witt, ISU Extension agronomist, will talk about weeds and emergence. Please be sure to like and follow the podcast and our social media at Field Forward Pod. We would love to have you join our community to keep folks in Iowa informed about what is affecting our farmers. This is Farm Here Daily. And joining us on Farm Here Daily, we have our Iowa Secretary of Agriculture, Mike Naig. Always glad to talk to Mike. Great guy here in Iowa, and I am excited to go over some of the details of the state right now, including what's going on the Naig farm. How you doing, Mike, and what's going on at the family farm?
Hey, great to catch up, David, and congrats on this new show. The pace was pretty good in Palo Alto County for us this year. We're never the first ones in the field, but honestly, we got in really great shape. And actually, believe it or not, we needed a shot of rain to help get things out of the ground, and we even got that. So I have got no complaints whatsoever on a personal basis, though I know that there's still some folks in Iowa that are, they still haven't quite got the crop in the ground. So I know those are anxious folks to get things finished up here before we turn the calendar to June.
Absolutely, and I've been watching closely some of that drought monitor and moisture profile the last couple of weeks, and we are in a completely different spot than we were last year.
What we really are, and on a couple of fronts, one being that we unfortunately had so much severe weather last year with tornadoes and flooding and those types of things, and so. By and large, though we have had some damage this year, but by and large, we've avoided those major events. But from a moisture standpoint, we are in better shape, though we continue to have those persistent area, that Northwest Iowa, way up in, Sioux and Lyon and up in there. That just continues to be a persistent dry area. And so that's maybe a watch out spot. But as you look across the monitor today, as it compares to last year, we're a lot better shape, and we needed to be.
No respite for our egg producers up there in Northwest Iowa, that's for sure, and now along with our other producers. Just taking a look at the state as a whole, what is kind of the take from the top ag person in our state's government? Mike, what are you looking at here as you talk to producers and as you work with the department?
What I hear, first and foremost on people's minds, of course, during planting, it's all about planting. But then, profitability is absolutely on people's minds, and it should be. Unfortunately, we're, entering our third year of expected decline in farm income. And we've seen commodity prices that just continue to struggle and high input prices. And so what you've got is a very compressed margin. And you've got really folks that are at or below the cost of production. And clearly that's not sustainable. And so that is definitely on the minds of folks. And of course, then just add into that the uncertainty that folks are feeling around both, international trade, to be sure, tariffs, a farm bill, the overall economy. I mean, there's plenty of headwinds right now that folks are feeling. So I would say that it's really a lot of focus on that profitability piece, and then what can we do to try to correct that? Of course, getting a farm bill done would be a boost of confidence. It would bring some certainty. I think we're going to get part of the Farm Bill update, if you will, in the budget reconciliation. We hope for maybe a skinny Farm Bill later in the year to kind of clean the rest of that up. That would be good. I would much prefer to see a comprehensive Farm Bill, 5-year Farm Bill get done, but need to be practical and realistic about those things. And then trade, I imagine we'll talk a little trade here, but tariff uncertainty then can be corrected with progress in securing new trade deals and fairer trade. And so we're seeing some reason to be hopeful there with the UK and China and some other places. So it's a bit of a mixed bag there, but I'd say those are the things that are on people's minds.
We will absolutely get to trade, but on a more local level, one of the ways Iowa is trying to help out producers is through our Choose Iowa programs that you are working on right now and have been working on for a few years now. Tell me about the state of that so far and how that's helping our producers.
Thanks. Choose Iowa is part of our commitment to what we've said all along is that we'd build markets wherever we could, internationally, domestically, or even at the very, very local level. There's a growing demand for locally made, locally grown, locally raised products, and then there's this opportunity for farms and businesses, farm families, small businesses in Iowa to meet that need. We launched Choose Iowa, it'd be almost 2 years ago at the State Fair, 2023 State Fair. And today we sit at 269 members. We've had an incredible membership increase this year, just since the beginning of the calendar year. Got 269 members in 85 counties, and that's growing literally every day. So one, I want to encourage folks listening, if you want to participate in that program as a producer, as a farmer, as a business, you can be a member of Choose Iowa, use the logo, and get access to all kinds of programs and grant dollars. And that's all that information is available at chooseiowa.com. And if you're a consumer and you're looking for Iowa grown, Iowa made, Iowa raised, we've got a directory that you can search and find everything from horticulture products to honey to fruits and vegetables, meat, distilled spirits, brewing, winemaking, all of the above. We've got a wide range of products and just growing gangbusters. And so we're really proud of that Choose Iowa program and the way the membership is really spiking.
It's really a value-added system, doing more on the farm when it comes to Choose Iowa. So what do you do when you run into someone who may be a little bit more skeptical, where they just say, I'm more of a row crop farmer. How does Choose Iowa help support me and others like me?
Yeah, first of all, Choose Iowa is not for everybody, and so we need to accept that. Of course, we are trying to promote Iowa products, Iowa grown, Iowa made, Iowa raised. And but here's what I'm finding, David, that's really been interesting is we're finding a lot of young folks, no surprise, young, beginning, small farmers who are taking advantage of this. It's hard to get into farming. The building a livestock building these days is not as good of a proposition as it maybe was a few years ago. That was a nice entryway for a lot of folks. And so what we're finding is you got some next generation farmers that are saying, I'm a part of my family's traditional row crop or traditional livestock operation. And then we have this separate business that we can capture additional margin, market direct, process local, sell direct, sell at a farmer's market, work with a local restaurant, all of the above. And it's creating entry points for the next generation and small farmers and beginning farmers as well. So that's maybe one of the things that I'm looking at that and saying, wow, that's a really good value add, in addition to just, again, meeting that need, that growing demand that folks have for a locally produced product. Here's the other thing we're trying to do is to encourage farm experiences. So coming up actually in June 21st and 22nd, we're having our inaugural Choose Iowa Farm Store Crawl. And so, oh boy, this has been exciting too, is you've got some of these operations that are creating stores, retail stores right on their farms, maybe repurposing a barn, which I love to see, an old barn with new life. And we're encouraging folks, you can go up and look, there's maps, and you can do a farm store crawl, go visit these great farms. And so not only can you get access to those products that you're looking for, but you can have a farm experience as well. And David, we need more people to understand where their food comes from and meet farmers and have a farm experience. And this is one of the ways that we're going to try to promote doing that.
Before I let you go, I want to get over to that trade topic we were talking about a little bit earlier as well. And I know Iowa sends off trade missions as one would think they would do, considering it's the second largest ag producing state in the nation. So I think everyone's glad that we're sending off trade delegations here and there. But what is Iowa working on specifically, and what are you working with our partners nationally to help promote Iowa farm agriculture goods?
Yeah, we definitely are connected to trade. As you mentioned, second in the nation in the value. So corn, soybean meal, corn, dry distillers grains, ethanol, all really the whole protein complex, pork and beef in particular, lots of opportunities, equipment, chemicals. I mean, it goes beyond just the commodities. Iowa has a great opportunity to take advantage of international markets when they're operating smoothly. And so the tariff situation with the Trump administration certainly has got folks will tell me they're concerned, but they're willing to give the president a chance to get a better deal. And there's too many places around the world where we have been restricted or we've been kept out of markets. And so if we can knock down tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers, boy, that can be a good thing in the long run. So short-term pain, long-term gain. The key is we need to make that short-term pain very short because we just don't have a lot of buffer in our margins right now to absorb a negative impact. And so that's what we're encouraging is quick action. We've got a new framework deal in principle with the UK, which is great, a great friend of ours, stepping down the high tariffs from China and really negotiating. Lots of interesting things happening with India and variety of countries around the world. So I think there's reasons to be encouraged and optimistic, but we've tried to be very clear about this. Let's make sure that the use of tariffs is a strategy, is a tactic, not a strategy in and of itself, because we want to use them to get better deals, and that's exactly what we see the administration doing. So that's what I think folks are looking at mostly. We've got lots of opportunities here to go and sell our products, but also to receive delegations from around the world, as we'll be doing during World Pork Expo coming up here next week as well. That's an example of where folks come to Iowa and we can still have great conversations.
Mike, I have a dozen questions more for you, but I want to be respectful of your time. You're a busy guy during a busy time. We'll just have to have you on again. Thank you so much for joining us on Farm Here Daily.
Hey, it always goes fast. Would love to catch up again. Thanks.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
This is Farm Here Daily, and we'll have more conversations on the way, but let's take a look at the marketplace at the close for Friday. July corn down 3 cents, $4.44, with September falling 4 cents at $4.23 and a quarter. Soybeans in July 10 cents weaker at $10.41 and 3/4, with August falling 11 3/4 at $10.36 and 3/4. Soybean meal in July down 10 cents a ton at $296.30. July wheat unchanged, $5.34. September down half a cent, $5.48 and a quarter. In the livestock market close for Friday, June live cattle down a nickel, $215.47 a hundredweight, with August 72 cents weaker at $209.35. Feeder cattle in August $1.10 a hundredweight down at $298.82, with September falling $1.15 at $297.70. Lean hogs in June $1.30 a hundredweight more at $101.32, with July rising $1.95 at $104.92. That is the Friday market close. This is Farm Here Daily.
This episode is brought to you by MeUndies. Underwear drawers are like the Wild West. You never know what you're going to pull out or what shape it's in. So upgrade your collection with the buttery soft comfort of MeUndies. MeUndies' signature fabric is as soft as a warm hug from your favorite sweater. Plus, it's breathable and oh so comfy, making it ideal for all-day wear. Get 20% off your first order, plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/Spotify with code SPOTIFY. That's MeUndies.com/Spotify, code SPOTIFY.
And joining us on Farm Here Daily, we have Mike Witt, ISU Extension agronomist for the western portion of Iowa. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today on Farmier Daily. And what's going on in your part of the state? Is it dry? Is it wet? How's the emergence going?
Well, we've kind of got a little bit of everything going on with that. So we've been actually fairly lucky out in western Iowa in that we've been able to get some precipitation where others might not have been able to do that. Now, are we still behind a little bit? Yes, we're still behind a little bit on some of that. But at the end of the day, we are looking pretty good out there across the area as far as precipitation goes. And we're also looking pretty good as far as planting and the progress that we're making.
That's kind of funny because I just think of the last couple of years where we had the terrible drought times, and Western Iowa was always in the more suffering side of things when it came to that.
Oh, yes. We usually are out there. And right now, like I said, we are in a D0 drought in some of the westernmost counties of my area. But maybe it's just having dealt with it for so many years, as you said, people are like, it's not as bad out here as we think it is right at the moment. So crops are doing really well across the area for a lot of that sort of stuff. And since April, we are, I would say, a little bit below our precipitation that we're going to have out there. If we want to talk about percentages, we're probably, I would say, about 50% of normal to 70% of normal with some of that rain. We're short a couple inches of rain, but with what we've had over the last couple years, we're still feeling pretty good with the way things are looking.
So planting is virtually done across the state, but emergence isn't fully there yet. But is that the case in your part of the state?
Yes, I would agree to that. So the crop staging that we're looking at right now, we had two very significant planting windows out in western Iowa. We had one from around April 11th to around April 20th, and then we had rain and were washed out for about a week, and then we had people come in after that, so around the 26th, 25th, and then move on from there. So if you had materials planted, corn, soybeans early in that window, then you probably have the emergence that's going on right now. Corn, I've seen anywhere from V3 stage, maybe even some V4 in some of that earlier planting. And then again, with soybeans, we've got some V1, possibly V2 from that early. But if you didn't get planted in that, that's okay. We still had some corn that most of the corn, I would say, has emerged or is at that V1 stage. But there are plenty of soybean fields that haven't quite emerged yet. But some of those might have been planted last week. And we've had some colder temperatures. So with those colder temperatures, we haven't had enough heat units really to get some of those things moving.
What is the most common call you're getting right now as you're fielding those calls from farmers?
Well, the most common call I'm getting right now is a lot to do with weed identification, because we have a lot of weeds that have come up in some of these fields, and people are wanting to make sure that the herbicides that they're using are going to fit the weed profile that they have there out in the field. So that's one of the big ones that we've been getting right now as far as that. A second question that I've been getting probably also as frequently is, when should I think about replanting? What is some of the yield parameters and some of the yield loss potential if I replant? And some of those economics behind that decision. Economics is driving a lot of questions that farmers are asking this time of year.
Now, that is an interesting question because there isn't that much time for folks to get out and replant.
With corn right now, if they were to get out and replant, they might not be able to get some of that yield potential that they were looking at. So they might be in that 75% range of that yield potential they're looking for. But with soybeans, again, we've seen soybeans that all the way up into, beginning of June, even the first week of June, can still get some really good yields out there. So soybeans, there's opportunities for replanting. Corn, we're really starting to drop off when it comes to some of that yield potential out there in the field.
Wanted to talk about that weed comment you made as well. What are kind of the weeds that are popping up in that part of the state?
Well, our big weeds that we like to deal with, because we have a lot of diversity, I would say, in my area where I'm at. The further northeast in my territory where I go, you are going to get some of the flat black areas that is going to have some more tillage. And in some of those areas, water hemp is obviously going to be one of the key components. But when we move further west or we get into the river bottoms and we get some of the hills where tillage isn't practiced as much as no-till in some of those. Then we'll get more mare's tail that's going to come in, as well as water hemp. And those are going to be kind of the main weeds that we're looking at as far as some of those coming in there. Also, our early weeds, some lamb's quarter and some stuff like that, are also out there in the area. But between that and you pick the name of the grass you want to have, because there's a lot of grasses that are coming in as well. Those are the big questions and the big weeds that we're really running into.
Now, have you seen any traces of insect pressure in any of the fields you're around yet?
So with insect pressure, we have been checking and we've been monitoring moth flights across the area. We had some come through, but we haven't had any real significant insect damage that we've been able to really quantify as of yet. There are some folks who have had some cutworm damage out across the area. There's also some individuals, especially with alfalfa, that might have had some alfalfa weevil damage as well, but nothing that's really raised a red flag as being, hey, this is a large-scale event across the area that we really need to really focus on.
Well, that's definitely good to hear. As you are scouting fields for the next couple weeks starting into June, and you're advising other farmers as they scout, what are you asking them to look for? What are you looking for in particular here?
Well, the things that I'm looking for now in this early season is I'm looking for any signs of stress that the plants might have gotten from planting. And that could be planting in poor conditions. If the plants are struggling to grow, do they have any reaction to herbicides or things that have been applied? Also, nitrogen and some of the soil fertility practices. Are the plants looking healthy as they're moving forward? And is there anything we can do in season to help with any of that right now? Because we still have some opportunities for those things out there to do some work in that. So that's kind of the big things that I'm having them scout for right now across the area.
Mike Witt, ISU Extension agronomist for the western side of Iowa Central, more western central. There, you have some neighbors to the north and to the south there with ISU Extension. Thank you so much for your time, for joining us today on Farm Your Daily.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is Farm Your Daily, a Field Forward podcast. Thank you for listening. Again, in order to continue to produce this type of local Iowa content, we would love to have you join our community. So please shoot it over to your friends, follow the podcast, and take a look at our social media channels at Field Forward Pod. Additionally, you can find me on social media at Geiger Reports, as well as WHO TV Channel 13 every weekday in their morning and noon hour programs. Again, I am your host, David Geiger, and I'll be back again on Monday, everybody.